record. All right, everybody. This is Dre from Tattoo Squid Podcast here with Lindsey of Ye Old Crime Podcast. How you doing, Lindsey?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. You know, like I said, we call it, wearing the Hawaiian shirt, get a little festive. I had to lay before. I don't know, somewhere around here. But how's your day going? How's your week actually? It's Friday.
Going pretty good. It's a little rainy here in Minnesota, but it's a good day so far. Getting excited for the weekend. So long weekend.
Oh yeah, well, no, not for me. I got like work on a Sunday, but I don't know. That it's like that day is probably going to be like so slow, so it's going to be like a day off anyway. Not to say where I'm working, so no one way to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Minnesota. Yeah, Mighty Ducks.
Yes, Mighty Ducks. Yeah.
I don't know if you. I know you watched the movie. Obviously, you probably
Yep.
watched the movie and everything else. But is it like a major craze like over there? I mean, like in Minnesota, like the movie came out, was it like a huge craze?
I think it was a big deal. The one where they were in the Mall of America, like that was a big deal.
Yeah.
And actually, my husband was an extra in Mighty Ducks 3. I think he was an extra in that.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I was trying to get into like movies actually. Remember The Purge?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
I mean they had the movies, but then they made the series.
Mm-hmm.
And I had something came to me, I think on Facebook or something. I don't know what it was. And I'm like, fuck it, let me try it out. And then I sent my picture and I did a picture where it's like, as my friend would call it, it's like, you got the face of a serial killer. So I'm like, fuck it. And I'm like, thanks a lot, buddy. So then I grabbed the camera, like, and I sent it, and I got like these people calling me back or texting me back. And probably the reason why I didn't go, because a friend of mine was saying that you don't know if they're on the up and up.
Sure.
So if I go to like say the city, but I'm in Long Island, I don't feel like going out to the city anyway, just for a whim.
Yeah.
And if I go there, then all of a sudden after it'd be like, oh well, you got to pay for this or you got to pay for that. I'm like, you're the one that won me in here. Why do I got to pay for something?
Yep.
So, or who's to say that if I do pay for something, and I'm going to see something coming back? So now that's the other thing.
Exactly.
So I didn't really go forward with it, but I would love to been, like extra wise, just
Mm-hmm.
being on air, just doing whatever. Even if I'm the one that's getting killed, I don't care. Just
Yep.
At least I'm like, I did something that I like to do, because I collect like a whole bunch of horror stuff. And like anything from figurines to figures to masks to whatever. That's why all this stuff is in the garage, because my girlfriend's like, nope, it's not coming in here. But she knows I love the stuff, and we always decorate our balcony or even downstairs for like Halloween, and we do a whole, we go all out. Probably this year I'll probably get more shit. But so your podcast is Ye Old Crime Podcast, which I like that because it's like the 1800s kind of feel to it, especially the old with the E.
Yep.
Do you, I like I said before, we were talking before, and I know I've heard only a couple of episodes, but I don't think I seen that you did anything with Jack the Ripper.
Not yet. I'm thinking of having that be like almost like a month-long series, just because there's so much involved with Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
But I feel like you need more than just one episode to really dive into it.
Yeah.
And there are some really good books that have come out recently about Jack the Ripper that I kind of want to make sure I read first before I start doing any real research on it, just because the hardest thing about doing research with stuff that like updates have come from all these older cases is you don't want to start researching it and then discover that you're missing a key part of the information. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people are like, oh, you totally missed X, Y, and Z. And it's like, oh, well, I didn't know that X, Y,
Yeah.
and Z happened. So
Yeah. It's like that wasn't in the notes that I read. Yeah.
yep. So yeah, so that's something that I kind of want to read first before I dive into it. But that case, and I want to cover H. Holmes at some point too. So
Oh, okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. It's like because I was like a fan, like I was saying before, I was a fan of like asylums and all that. The only thing about me, it's, and a lot of people are gonna find this out now, but I might as well just say that I love horror movies. I like everything else. I like to scare people, but I don't like getting scared myself. You
same,
know,
same.
but I mean, I have that demeanor that I can sit there and I can watch every like horror film or every documentary that could be so disturbing, and I could sit there and it's not going to bother me one bit. But if I go to like a haunted house that where people do jump scares, I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna punch somebody because like, whoa, what the fuck, like
I
that.
think part of that too is the whole like there's a little bit of suspension of disbelief when you're watching a horror movie because it's not going to directly affect you in any way.
Yeah,
Like because it's obviously a movie. But
yeah,
yeah, you go someplace like a haunted house or a haunted hayride or whatever you're doing, that they're going to come out at you.
yeah,
And like there are some places where they're allowed to touch you and things like that. And that's something where, yeah, I would definitely punch somebody in the face or kick them in the balls if they jumped out at me.
yeah. I
Like,
know. Like, I mean, it's just like, I, I don't know. It's like I can sit there because I read something on. I read even like if it's like a documentary of like the real stuff,
mm-hmm,
like you were going doing like research of everything else, and it could be like the most disturbing, the most demented, like I was doing research on oh, what was it, 13 Ghosts.
okay.
And honestly, that's like the Zodiac, the black, from the Black Zodiac.
Mm-hmm,
And it gets into like real, like, old style, like 1800s, because you got the jackal, you got this, you got the hammer, you got, the child from way back.
mm-hmm.
And it is disturbing to see that this happened a while back, but everybody's saying, oh, well, that's just speculation, that's, we don't know if that's true. I'm like, okay, well, hey, it sounds true to me.
Yep.
And I can sit there, and then, like I said, I saw on Facebook, um there was a phrase that said, if you can sit there and watch uh blood curdling whatever and then sleep at night, you know and sleep at night, then you're psychotic. Basically they're dubbing you psychotic because, oh, you can go and have sleep and watching all this stuff, and someone getting maimed and head like dismembered, and um or a head going through a bread slicer kind of thing.
Yep.
And then, 'cause even, and I'll say this again because I said this once before, that we're watching, have you ever seen uh Fear Street?
I haven't watched it, but I remember reading the books and stuff growing up.
Okay. So, that's what it was. I was watching it, like we were watching the first one, and then it was like this major horrific thing happened, and I was like, wow. And I was like smiling because I couldn't believe it. But then my girlfriend had the protection blanket up, you know, and and then it's like, holy shit. And it's like, oh, mother of pearl. And I'm like, you said that out loud. And I'm like, I was like, wow, she screamed it. And all of a sudden she just looked at me and said, how are you smiling through this? I'm like, I'm used to this. I'm like, I watch this like on a daily basis.
Hmm.
I think the one movie that makes me jump is a documentary uh movie, like Blair Witch kind of
Yeah,
thing. But this one's called Hell House LLC.
I
And
haven't heard of that one.
it's it's on the spectrum of like Blair Witch, where they're using video cameras, and setting them up and everything else, and they're doing like a movie,
Hmm.
but apparently there is an entity in a certain thing, and the whole town knows about this, but then people are missing and stuff happening,
Sure.
and it's
Sure.
and it makes you think, and then you're like, wow, and all of a sudden that just threw me back a little bit because I didn't expect something like that to jump. But
Sure.
so let's let's talk about your podcast. What is it about? How do you, I know we talked about this before, but maybe for everybody else to know, if they don't know, what is your podcast about? How it became what it is, and shoot. No.
Sure. So like you mentioned, my podcast is Yield Crime, and it's a podcast that I do with my younger sister, Madison. And we started it back in June of 2020. So it's been a little over a year now.
Okay.
And we cover cases that take place before the 1900s. So, like you mentioned, we've covered asylums, we cover a lot of murderers, people who like to use poison as their weapon of choice.
Mm.
We've covered some really weird cases, like I dove into the history behind ventriloquism, because that used to be considered like demonic.
Sure.
And I mean, I still kind of think it is a little demonic because it's creepy, but that's just me. And we've covered really off the wall topics, like when they used to take animals to court for things. So, which is just kind of a random weird thing to learn about. And we've also covered some pirates, and we just kind of cover a variety of cases and stories from around the world that take place before the 1900s.
So what, well, I'm not gonna say out of like the episodes that you did, but what is the one subject that you haven't covered that you um find weird, but you haven't done it yet? I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does make sense. So,
Okay.
what's something weird that I haven't covered yet, but that I'm really excited to cover? Um, One thing that I have on my list that I want to cover is weird ways that they used to punish women for crimes in like the Middle Ages. And there's some really off the wall stuff that they
Yeah.
used to do. Like I've skimmed some of the articles that I've like set aside and bookmarked for research purposes, and they're like crazy. So I'm excited to kind of dive into that and bring that story to life, because some of the ways they used to punish women for the weirdest of things is kind of off the wall.
So and I know you do all the pretty much checking into everything and doing all this stuff. And your sister, I mean, she dives into stuff too, or she just like
The
yin and yang. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the format of the podcast is basically I do all the research and I like write the episode. And then it's basically like I am telling her a story. So she's hearing it for the first time and like
Oh,
reacting to learning about whatever I'm sharing with her that week.
yeah.
Um, and there are times when she'll kind of know in advance what we're talking about. Like if uh, earlier this year in February, we did episodes that were requested by our parents because their birthdays are both in February.
Okay.
And they just so happened to pick two of like the bloodiest cases that I've covered so far.
And
So
I'm the weird one.
I know it's like, why I am the way I am based off what you picked. So yeah, they requested like Elizabeth Bathory, who is
Oh yeah.
apparently,
Yeah, I
you
heard
know
of
who Elizabeth
her.
Bathory is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then like the Bloody Benders. So
Bloody
um
Benders. I've never heard of that
the
actually.
Bloody Benders were basically this family that set up shop in, no, I'm blanking. I think it was Kansas. And their whole premise was that they had like a goods and services shop, but you could also like sleep there. So this was back when people were like heading on the Oregon Trail to like expand west.
Oh, okay.
And if you happened to be somebody that looked like they had a lot of money, they would have you sit down at the table with your back facing against this curtain.
Mm-hmm.
And then while you're eating dinner, they'd whack you on the back of the head and kill you and then take your money.
Oh, aha. The plot thickens.
Yes.
Damn.
So yeah, it was a very interesting deep dive because I knew a little bit about it, but I didn't know like everything about it. So yeah.
I love the fact that when I listen to like crime podcasts and they like you and everybody else, we call it they go deep into whatever, and especially when you're like, oh, I went to here, this site, 2018, 2015, 1995, whatever,
Yeah.
and then have it all documented and what was the thing? I heard it on the first episode. Like you were saying, because I'd never heard of it, but it's like you're like, okay, I found this and this and this and this, but then you'll see it on something. I think it's like you have it written down, but you have it posted on something else, I guess, for everybody to see where you found all the information from.
Yep. So I will include in like the show notes of the episode, like all the links, so people can verify that I actually did what I did. And just if they want to read deeper into stuff, then they have the articles right there.
I've never heard of show notes, and I like when I listened to it, I was like, show notes. I'm like, what the fuck is show notes? But I was like, all right, well, cool. It's like, but then I don't think anybody else has ever really, I think, done, that part, I guess, show notes. I know they do check it out and they go on here and here and here, which is good. Me, like I said, I look into different movies and I just go by the whim of what I've seen and what I know about it.
Sure.
And I have a tendency to, like if you watch now you watch everything from like, what's your genre of movies?
I watch a little bit of everything. So like some of my favorite movies are more like sci-fi based. Like one of my all-time favorite movies is The Fifth Element.
Bruce Willis, the caddy.
Yep. And I love the Mummy franchise, not the Tom Cruise one, but the original ones with Brendan Fraser.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I enjoy, I'm sorry, that's my dog. And
I went through this with Shoot the Flick, so it's all good.
Okay. She's probably barking at squirrels outside because we have big windows into the backyard and have tons of trees.
I do that too. I go, every once in a while, my girlfriend had to hit me in the head. Stop that. But
there are totally times where I'll catch myself and be like, wow, we have a lot of squirrels in the backyard today. And then I'm like, Lindsey, you're looking at squirrels.
I mean, listen, when I had a dog, I would do the same thing. My dog would look up at the thing and just looking around, and I'm like this, and I'm like, like her head is right here and my head's right here. I'm like, and then when I was married, my wife's like, the hell are you looking at? I'm like, I don't know. I'm looking what she's looking at.
I'm trying to see what she's looking at.
Yeah, I'm like, she's very intrigued on what's out here. I'm like, I'm trying to see. What do you see? And then I'm like asking her, and she just licked my nose. I'm like, okay, cool.
That doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah, that doesn't help me one bit. That was it. But she's just like intrigued. But I wish I had like, what kind of dog actually do you have?
I have a pit bull terrier mix. So she's about 50 pounds, and she's got the brindle coloring. So she's got like that like chocolate, like caramel and black kind of marble-ish coat. She's fun. Yeah, she's gonna be 2 in December, so she's still kind of little.
I had a dog that was like, my wife called it a Heinz 57. So pretty much it was like a multitude of different breeds. So I think the mom got down with everybody. I don't know. Because I mean, like my dog had the spotted tongue, I don't even know what breed that was at. Spotted tongue. She has like the shedding, not the shedding, but the coat of a German Shepherd, the,
Okay.
the tail of a Chow. Then she has like the spots underneath, like her belly and all that. Which,
Hmm.
if you ask my brother-in-law, he's like, it's like looks like a cow. And I'm like, no, she doesn't look like a cow. It's like, well, he's talking about the spots, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But and then she had like an underbite too, so, or an overbite, whichever it is. I don't know what it is, but to the point where the people at the animal hospital, they're like, you sure you want this dog? I'm like, yeah, this is my dog, don't worry about it. They tried to take my dog off for like an English bulldog, which I like, but
Yep.
no, I'm like, this is from my wife, this is my baby. No.
Yeah. We
That,
totally had a dog growing up. It was like a Shih Tzu, and she had that really pronounced underbite too. So it
yeah,
always looked like she was like
yeah,
baring her fangs at you,
yeah,
but she'd just be sitting there like chilling out, and you'd
yeah.
be like,
That's,
"What's going on?"
I don't know. I think my dog's related to your other dog before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you just lay it, she'll just lay there and no problem, no care in the world, and toss her a toy, and she can strategically get that squeaker out of the toy, like she's a doctor, and just and there it is in the mouth, and she tosses it, and then she'll just like flip the thing around. I'm like, this is what the thing is supposed to be for, and I'm like, okay. Yeah, I try not
Yeah.
to get the squeaker, which I think later on this weekend we're gonna see my girlfriend's niece's new dog, actually. So I don't know what type of dog it is, but I'll find out. So I'm like, we gotta go see it. Why? So that way, if we have to go over there, we don't get attacked.
Yep.
So he knows the scent, or he or she knows the scent.
Yep.
You know,
I just love dogs. So it's always I love meeting new dogs and stuff.
I've always had like dogs ever since I was a kid,
Hmm.
to the point where they chased me up the pole. But that was, I don't know why. I think I was afraid of dogs when I was younger,
Hmm.
and like I'd get off the school bus, and like when the bus would stop at the end of my street, and then I'd get off. The next thing, for some reason, there's always a dog, and a dog would chase me down the street, and I get in there, and I was like definitely afraid. And even my own dog chased me up a pole.
Jeez.
But now to this day, I love dogs, and I can get, because I think I have my dad's uh sense of anger, I think. Yeah, yeah. Well, no, I mean, I anger, like, again, angry at the dog, just like you raise the voice and they know who's the boss. So,
Yep. Yeah.
like Caesar Milan, but he goes, he was like, you know
Yeah.
but
Being able to exert that dominance, like, no,
yeah,
no, no, I'm the
yeah,
alpha. I'm
yeah,
the
yeah,
big dog.
exactly, the alpha, like alpha, and you're the omega, and that's it.
Yep.
And whenever my dad would be like, "Ah," and then the ears fall back, and then they like, they scour or whatever.
Yep.
But I tried doing that a little bit, but it works. Yeah. So, but hopefully we get another dog. I think when we get a house, it's going to be cool. What I
We were
know,
talking about my favorite movies, so
I
sorry.
know, and then like I said, it goes all over the place.
I know. Well, I started it by being like, my dog's barking like crazy. So,
hey, like I said, it goes all over the place. Now,
yep.
the genre of movies, you said science fiction, like sci-fi.
I like sci-fi. I do like comedies. Um, I do enjoy documentaries from time to time. I actually watched one last night called Abducted in Plain Sight. And that was about a girl who was abducted twice by the same guy who was like a friend of the family. It was so messed up. It was
That guy
super messed up.
had been out of prison.
Yeah, it was really messed up. Had to do with pedophilia, and it was bad. But I
Uh,
was I was just like, I kind of knew about the case before I started watching it. But as I was watching it, I was like, how does this happen twice? Like
yeah,
twice.
and the
So I
same
was just
person.
like, Oh my God.
Any new? Well, but is there any like horror movies that you like, or you're just
I am a huge scaredy cat when it comes to horror movies.
Mhm.
So I'm one of those people that has a really hard time with jump scares.
Yeah,
Like,
same here. Okay.
they really bother me. So I don't watch a ton of horror movies, but I did really enjoy Crimson Peak. And that was have you seen Crimson
Yeah,
Peak?
I seen it. We call yeah, it does have its little jump scares here and there.
It's a little bit creepy, but I really enjoyed that one. I guess I like the ones that are more it's an implied scary thing where you don't always see the scare, like whatever the monster or the entity is, where it's kind of a slow reveal.
Yeah.
Another one that I watched that I really enjoyed, I think it's called Underwater. I want to say that's what it's called. It's got Kristen Stewart in it, and
Yes.
it's you know what I'm talking about, and
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
it was very like Lovecraft, like HP Lovecraft, and
Yeah.
that was really cool. That one was really
Yeah.
good.
We saw that movie and we were like, okay, this sounds, you know, in the beginning you watch it and it's um very slow, meticulous kind of, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then all of a sudden it starts happening back and forth. You're like, what the fuck, you know? And
Yep.
then all of a sudden, explosion wise, I'm like, wow, they started off like this, and then there's just like huge monsters, and it,
Yeah.
it's like the abyss almost. I think.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it starts really slow. Like it almost kind of gives you like this false sense of security. Like, oh, this
Yeah,
isn't so bad. I'm like, we're just in this underwater base. And then all of
yeah,
a sudden it's like all hell breaks loose.
yeah.
And then there's like giant tentacle monsters that are going to eat your face, like it's
Not
just
a squid, people. Not a squid. It's not a squid.
no, but I was just like,
well,
oh my God.
well, it could be a squid actually. If you saw the movie, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I think that's what I'm trying to get my picture to look like. I think I don't know, but which in actuality we call it tomorrow. I'm getting a tattoo of a big squid on my back.
Cool.
I don't know how big it's going to be, but the guy assures me that it's a decent size and it's going to cover good. I'm like, okay. So that, and hopefully my mom and dad's on the listen to this to be like, oh my God, no, no, what, no. I don't know if you can tell, but I got like a decent amount
Yeah.
of it is. So, my sister told him, it's like, listen, you see where he's at now, he's not going to stop. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm like, I will. I'm not going to go here or up here,
Yep.
that's about it. So, uh, you got any tattoos, or are you a fascination with tattoos or not?
I do have a couple tattoos. I have one on my ankle that's Skittles. And
Great
um
candy, I tell you.
I know. And then I have one on my hip that's my astrological sign. So it's the Leo sign. I have,
Fellow Leo.
yep, woo. And I have plans for other tattoos that I want to get. So I want to get I really like skeleton keys. Those are like
Okay. Yeah.
things I'm really into. And I want to get two keys, so one on each of my like forearms, on the inside of my forearms,
Mhm.
um, in honor of both of my daughters. So I want to have, and the design is going to be basically we're on like the arm of the key. I'm going to put in the Roman numerals for the year they were born,
Mhm.
and then on like the head of the key. So one of my daughters, her name is more Greek in origin, and it has to do with like a Greek goddess. So I wanted to have like the crown type motif on the head of the key,
Okay.
and the other one has more of a um, heavenly type name, I guess. So I wanted hers to be more like maybe with wings or something, but
Okay.
um, and I really like the woodcut style, like the Sailor Jerry type style of
Yes.
tattoos.
Yes.
So I wanted something kind of that style. So I know what I want to get. I just haven't gotten them yet. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to get those. I just have to try to find an artist here that does that kind of style that I can get
Yeah.
into and get the idea down on paper.
That's the key. I mean, I'm not a tattoo artist, but I've been what's the phrase? I've been mistaken for a tattoo artist numerous times. Because I went to my tattoo artist and in Pennsylvania when I used to live in Pennsylvania, and I would go and sit at the computer like this computer right here and then checking stuff out, and people come in, how much for this? Or how big can you get this and this? And I'm like, I'm the customer. You know?
I don't work here.
Yeah, I don't work here. I want a computer to let me play on a computer just to see what I can get next. And I pretty much have more tattoos than the tattoo artists themselves. That's how bad, except for the piercer. The piercer is tattooed from head to toe with anxieties, and he's a piercer. Let's just leave it at that. So, um, but folks, I'm not like I said, I'm not a tattoo artist, but I have gone many times. And what you need to do is when you go and get a tattoo, you got to find a tattoo artist that is very good at what they do, not somebody that just in there and it's like, listen, I can do this for this amount.
Mm-hmm.
Do the research, as you know,
Yep.
research is key. Um, me, I used to go off the whim, and I'm like, oh, I'll take that off the wall. Back when they had stuff on walls. Now
Yep.
it's more like personalized stuff, like you were just talking about. So,
Yeah.
and location. You know, so
Yeah. Well, and for me too, it's like there's so many different artists in Minneapolis alone that you could go to because there's so many different tattoo um, parlors in Minneapolis and in St. Paul that it's it's kind of one of those things where it's like you kind of you want to get recommendations from people who have seen some of these guys and see
mm,
kind of what they've gotten and what their experiences are. But then you also want to, like, what I have been doing personally is I follow a lot of these parlors on Instagram because they'll share like their tattoos that
oh
they've been
yeah,
doing like on Instagram. And so it's like, well, yeah, I really like this person's style, or, I like this design, but I would like it more like whatever. So it's kind of nice to be able to do that sort of research
mm,
before you go in and just be like, I really like this person's style. What's their availability? Like there are some people that are booked out through the end of the year,
yeah.
but depending on how popular the artist is. But yeah, like doing your research is important because, you want to make sure that if it's going on your body forever, you
Yeah,
want to make sure that it's how you want it.
yeah,
So,
exactly. I mean, there's people that have tattoos where, oh, I may have this name, and then they put the name, but then it's all wrong,
mm-hmm.
and you're like, oh fuck. But then half the time they're drunk. They're drunk when they got, oh, I was hammered. I'm like, I didn't know what was going on. Like, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Um, but even the tattoo artist will tell you, you're not supposed to do that. Um, but yeah, we call it, like I said, I'm gonna be getting something. I actually want to get more, so, but I like the idea of the keys and
Mm-hmm.
skeleton keys, especially like when you're, doing like an underwater theme,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of movies, and even stuff that you were like uh deep diving into,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that could be, like the bodies can be found in water
Mm-hmm.
and underneath, and then you find all the secrets, and even like the thriller movies,
Yep.
it tells the story of like Skeleton Key, actually the movie Skeleton Key,
Yep.
same thing. You find it like in the water, but then it relays to what's going on in the house,
Mm-hmm.
and they're dead. It just goes on and on, and and keys are not windows to the soul. That's another proverb. Um, but yeah, it's just keys open up every door there is. So
Mm-hmm.
um, but what else I was going to say? There was like something else I had on my mind. Oh, recipient of a giveaway.
Yes, I
Yes,
was.
yes. So she is one of 3 people that have one of my giveaways, and she has the skeleton necklace, well,
Mm-hmm.
skull necklace of a friend of mine, Keys Love Jewelry, out here in Long Island. But they do have a site, which I'm going to try to put in the descriptions and all that. So, but between Lindsey and Dad's Bod History Show and Squid Talks, they won something out of that, which you know, I know you didn't really do anything for it, but I just picked your name out of a hat,
Yep.
basically. And I'm glad that everybody has gotten their stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
they love it. And you even posted it on Twitter as well, which
Yeah.
was awesome. I was like, oh shit, oh cool. You know, and I was like, it's not stickers, which I also had to send you stickers as well, but we'll talk about that down later.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything that Ye Old Podcast, Crime Podcast, is doing coming up? Any special attractions or something for them to look for?
So we are going to be doing October. We're going to be doing all spooky stories in October. So we are going to have my husband actually requested a cool cryptid that we're going to cover in October. I think we're going to do another asylum story in October. And I think I'm doing a possession story and another like haunting type story. So I'm very excited for all of our spooky October stories that we're going to be
What
doing.
is cryptid? Now, I've seen this word many times, and I shouldn't looked it up. I mean, I figured you're here and you said the word cryptid. What is that?
So a cryptid is basically any sort of creature or entity that kind of falls outside of what we would consider to be like normal animals. So like Bigfoot is considered a cryptid, like the Loch Ness monster,
Oh,
Mothman, things like that. Those are
yeah.
considered cryptids.
Okay. All right. Now it comes in the mind frame. I'm like, okay, I've seen the word and I heard people saying it. I'm like, what the hell is it? I'm like, I don't know.
Yep.
It's like I just know horror. That's it. And actually, you know the podcast Wheel Horror.
Yes.
Yeah. So Justin and a bunch of those guys that I did one with Justin last week, which I think I'll be posting that probably like next week or something. And they're doing a wheel thing, and then he sent me a thing, so it's like there's like a whole bunch of like different horror movies, and some of them are not really horror movies to what I think it is, but no, but it would be cool. We could, I think, I'm probably guesting on there somewhere in October, because everybody's doing an October thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
I know I'm
gotta.
gonna do an October thing. I used to do that last year. I did a whole month of different movies, like every day. Just talk about this, whatever.
Do you watch or have you watched any of like the older horror movies? Like stuff from
Like,
like the 70s? Because I remember watching The Omen and I really enjoyed the original Omen movie. And funnily enough, the original Children of the Corn movie
oh yeah.
was filmed where I grew up.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah.
The
Like,
one with the guy from, what TV show was that? Oh my god, I forgot. The guy with the beard.
yep.
And Terminator.
Yep.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. So you remember like the creepy house that they were like hiding in?
Yeah.
That house actually exists and it's on the edge of town. So funny story is the town that I grew up in where it was filmed, it flooded a couple of years ago, like really, really bad.
Yeah.
And the only two buildings that weren't directly affected by the flood were the church and that house,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is kind of, it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, there was when I lived in Pennsylvania, I lived in a town called Luzerne, Pennsylvania. I always make fun of the name Luzerne, and because I didn't live there at the time yet, and then we did, so I'm like, all right, because they had no police. There was no
Okay.
police going. They had a mayor, and the mayor and somebody else were all in one building, and you could walk in there no problem. There was no security. There was no whatever.
Mm-hmm.
A small town, like an '80s town. I loved it. It was just and it had a curfew bell,
Oh, funny.
a curfew horn actually, not bell. I mean, but they had a horn. So like I think 9:15, I think it is, and this horn would go off. And I was working 12-hour shifts, and I'm like, I got home for my first actual 2 or 3 days off, and I was working overnights, and I get home, and I'm like, okay, no problem. And 9 o'clock rolls around, and all of a sudden I hear, like that, and I'm like, and I look at my wife, I'm like, the fuck is that? And she goes, that's the curfew horn. I'm like, what? I was like, what, you mean like the thing goes off and they get the kids and they, after a certain time? And she goes, yeah. I'm like, get the fuck out of here, really? And I didn't believe it at first. I mean, I believe it, but I mean, I never really seen it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went to Long Island, New York to visit family. We came back. So there's like a restaurant bar that, well, actually it's a bar, but they have good food.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went down there, we got some food, we came back, and all of a sudden after the bell went off, the horn went off. I didn't really hear it, but I kind of knew it because I saw my watch, and I was like, all right. And I drive down this one street and there's the unmarked car with like 8 bikes in the trunk and all these kids in the back. And I'm like, and I almost hit a car because I could not believe what I was watching. And I'm like, holy shit, they really. I got home and I opened the door. I'm like, honey, you wouldn't believe what I just fucking saw. They actually do fucking do it. And and it was just like, because then it's like a chain of events, because then my wife would be watching news, and
Mm-hmm.
every part of town something's burning.
Oh God.
Like somebody's house is on fire, and she goes, "There's people's houses on fire in this neighborhood," and I'm like, "Okay." And I didn't, it's like like a horror movie.
Yep.
It's like an actual horror movie that I'm going to work and she's going through this shit, and I'm like, then I see it for myself. So I went to go and hang out with my friends to get I had to go and get tattooed.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to go and get tattooed, and I had a tire flat. And my friend that I hanged out with, he was from Long Island as well, and he moved out there. I'm trying not to do this as a long story. I'm sorry to cut you, but I had to get this out because we're talking about, children of the corn, and this is kind of creepy too.
Mm-hmm.
That a cop came by, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're afraid that people were going to mug us, like after trying to put the tire on, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Cop standing there, and my friend's like, yeah, I know Scranton is not the safest place and all that. And he goes, well, where you live? And I'm like, I live in Luzerne. And he goes, and you think Scranton is not the safest place? He goes, your friend lives in the murder capital of Pennsylvania. And I'm like, okay, I did not see that in the subscriptions. That was not.
They don't advertise that in their brochure for
exactly,
come move here.
But they didn't show that in the brochure. Like here's an axe murderer, whatever.
Future like, complimentary axe that comes with your house.
Yeah. And then the same time, well, not the same night, but like a couple of nights before, I felt worried about my wife at one point, and then I was like telling my friend, because the phone wasn't, I called and they just didn't answer. Mm-hmm. It just went right to voicemail. Never did that. And so my friend went down there to go and check it out, and it scared her crazy, because who's this person at like 11 o'clock at night banging on the door?
Yeah.
And, and it's like, a guy that's like 400 and something pounds, just at your doorway. And then, then all of a sudden she called me up and she goes, "You're an asshole." I'm like, okay. I'm like,
At least you're alive. That's all I
yeah,
needed to know. Thanks.
you're alive. You can answer the phone. I'm like, okay, cool. I just sent him over there to see how you're doing. I love you. Bye. But that was my story of basically like a children of the corn kind of thing. Because it's not every day you're somebody tells you like, you're in like the murder capital of fucking Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Like, shit, really? I'm like, wow. Okay, I can pick them. And there's a reason why I called it. We're living in loser land, instead of Luzerne. So, and then I think that's it. I think, is there anything else you want to add? Since I cut into your time here.
I can't really think of anything. I mean, people can find us everywhere, like on every podcast platform. Our episodes come out every Wednesday. And then twice a month, we have these special segments that come out called Can You Crack the Cramp Word?
Oh,
where
wait, whoa. I didn't hear about this one. I'm sorry. We didn't get into this part now. What is that?
So a cramp word is like a Victorian slang term for like a really difficult or obscure term that people would use for things.
Okay.
And so on this segment, I'll invite other podcasters to come on and I'll give them a couple Victorian slang terms and see if they can guess what they mean. And they're usually just like completely off the wall, like the strangest things you've ever heard before. So that's like a segment that we do a couple times a month. Okay. And it's just kind of fun. And it's a way to have people on the show. So
I think I've seen something, a couple of the episodes, like when I skimmed through it, the first one you were saying that, the audio is meh, but then skip up to like 19.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that, but then when I went through and then I saw what you were just talking about, I'm like, okay, I'll check that out later.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, but no, hey, that's cool. Because I'm trying to wait for this game to come in, and I want to use this game with other people. It's called the movie game.
Okay.
Pretty much, it's a synopsis kind of thing where it's a board game, not a board game itself, but it's like a card where it has a synopsis on the card. It could be like one part would be the subject, like say horror, obviously horror for me, but like horror, whatever, and then they give the synopsis of a certain horror film, and then the other one could be from a different film, and you have to combine those two films together to make one sentence somewhat, so
okay
like they had like one where it was about Friday the 13th, and then they had another one that was about 13 going on 30, so you go Friday the 13th going on 30.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like that. So you had to really mold both titles together, and it gets a little crazy a little bit, like the guy that made the thing, they did videos of it's called The Valley Folk.
Okay.
And they did this whole thing, and they went to this one guy, and they had this, and I remember this one part because it was really cool, and it was like basically it was like Pac-Man, like the video game, and then they were talking about Ant-Man the movie.
Okay.
Like you had to go and put Pac-Man into Ant-Man, and they were like, how? You can't really, and then they thought about it, Pac-Man, and they were like, what the fuck? It's like, and then one guy just went, I'm done. Okay, I'm out of here, And then the other guy was just going like that. And he thought about it, and he's like this, and he goes, "You piece of crap," It was just like the funniest shit because they were like just going like, oh. So that's what I want to use. I want to use like that kind of game. So when I do, hopefully it comes in soon because they took my money already. So so hopefully I begin this game soon. And I've been doing this with like, that'll be like a segment kind of thing. Plus, I'm gonna try, keyword trying, to get from every person I've done an interview with,
Mm-hmm.
and I did 100 episode, like I said before, when I did the 100th episode,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be trying to do in season 2, 100 episodes, but with interview wise,
Sure.
and have all of them back on a Zoom.
Oh.
And it might be a clusterfuck. I think about this now. It's going to be a clusterfuck, yes. But I might have to do team captains or something to
Sure.
like you get that one corner there, you get that corner there, and we'll try to get
Yep.
everybody to subside and not all talking at once. It's
Sure.
kind of like Spaces. I don't know if you've ever been on Spaces yet, but
Yeah.
are you done Spaces?
Uh.
The Twitter Spaces they have?
Oh, no. I haven't been on Spaces yet. No.
No, it's kind of like that, but this one's more like you see everybody. It's almost like a party
Sure.
thing, which, yeah, this day and age, everybody can't really get together.
Yep.
Well, I mean, they could, but but most of you guys, like, you're in Minnesota. I can't really go to Minnesota, and
Yeah.
a lot of people, and but all right. So that is Lindsey, ye old crime podcast. Like she said, you can find her on all different social media platforms and whatever you see. Do you have a YouTube?
We are on YouTube. Yes.
Okay. So you can see them on YouTube as well. Myself, you can pretty much find me on Twitch, Instagram at tattooswith.podcast, at podcast tattooswith on Twitter, tattooswith podcast, YouTube, TikTok, same fucking name. I don't want to keep on repeating it, because it's all different on every one of them. So it's like, I'm like, I can't, for some reason, I can't get the same name going for everything else. Like, oh, this has been taken. I'm like, what? That's me. But let alone there's a guy named Squid Talks. Yeah. So, I have to talk to him tomorrow. So I'll be like, listen, why you use my name? And where and what time. Just do some kind of police, what they do in interrogation rooms.
There you go. Shine the light on him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I should get that in, like, where were you on this date? Yeah, why are you doing horror movies? That's my shtick. No. But thank you, Lindsey, for being here on the show. And your dog too, even though you let
Yes.
beforehand. And I'm gonna like listen to more of it because I like the whole asylum, and I want to listen to the other stuff, the one that you were just talking about before. Where they do all the different names of this Victorian names.
The
And
slang terms. Yep.
yeah, and I'm gonna check that out. So go check her out. Like I said, she's the winner of the podcast, the giveaway. And she has the medal to show it. She's like, aha, this is mine. That's it. And hopefully I'll do like another thing like that. Maybe I'll do like another like 100th thing. Pull a hat. Name out of the hat.
There you go.
Yeah. Now I'm up to like 1,300 Twitter. Oh my god, that's gonna be a lot of names. Oh, you remember when you're in high school and you're like, I would not throw the chalk across the room. I would not throw it. Yeah, that's what my hand is gonna be doing. Like, it's gonna be talking to me. You fucking son of a bitch, like that.
Why did you do this to yourself?
Yeah, why you have my hand? Why you got this hand worried about this one? I don't know. But thank you, Lindsey, again, for laughing at my jokes and And hopefully, you'll be coming on again, or
Sure.
vice versa, I'll be coming on with yours, and because I'm very intrigued on like the newer stuff that you're gonna, that you are planning on doing.
Yep.
If you need somebody to sit in, with you and your sister, and I'm like, hey, and I'll be like, holy shit, really? Yeah. Your sister won't be the only one to be going like, what? Yeah. So I'll be there.
I'll have to have you on when we do an asylum episode.
Oh,
So
nothing says crazy like a squid. Yeah. But anyway, alrighty. So gonna let you go, but we'll talk a little bit afterwards.
Sure.
So folks, check our podcast out. Awesome stuff. Check out my stuff. Not so awesome, but if you'd like to listen to it, go ahead. Give a like, subscribe, donate, buy me a coffee, buy her a coffee, buy a wine. I don't know if you have a buy a coffee.
I do have a buy me a coffee. Yeah.
Or people like buy me a slice of pizza or wine or machete or I don't know. But and check out everything that's about Ye Crime podcast. Ye Old Crime podcast. Imagine saying that 5 times fast. All right, I'll talk to you in a little bit. All right, everybody have a good night, and we'll see you later. Okay.